If you guys thought that I was batshit before, no pun intended, then you ain't seen a damn thing yet. Sup guys, Knuckles here. Today we're looking at Johnny's review of Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and your boy. Link will be in the description as always. Those of you who follow me throughout the years know that this is pretty big, but for the ones that don't know, don't worry, your boy's gonna fill you in. Years ago, back in 2009, when Johnny only had 100 subscribers, your boy was a part of that first 100. Saw his content and immediately became a fan. That was back when he was doing his things with the Super Gaming Brothers with Elliot. From then on, Johnny went solo to do the Versus series and became one of the greatest YouTubers on this platform that we've seen today. Our relationship was kind of rough when we first started, and that was caused by a big ass war on his channel's comment section because of everybody being stupid, back when that was actually a thing, which would eventually lead us talking it out in the DMs man to Echidna. He spoke his piece, I spoke my piece. Let me tell you, this dude is a gentleman all the way around. He's a straight to the point, no bullshit type of guy. You can see that in his reviews as he does them, which is a trait that I developed myself on the Super Subway Brothers. So from that point, we became friends, but rivals at the same time. So from time to time, I might just take a shot at him, or just mess with him for a little bit. He knows this. Big shout out to the Gaming Brothers, Johnny, Elliot, Matt, Mark, and hell, even Uncle Greg, because from personal experience, that man is hilarious, and should be protected at all costs. Y'all are all invited to the cookout. Hell, y'all got the all access pass to the damn cookout. Don't worry, I'll let y'all know when it happens. It's honestly thanks to the Super Gaming Brothers that the Super Subway Brothers exist. Had it not been for them, we wouldn't have the wings to fly. Essentially, Johnny's the very blueprint that I kind of follow here on YouTube, which is the reason why I will always thank that man no matter what. So with all that said, let's get into it. That intro is nothing but fire, with the smoke included. First intro is the most goated though, but I don't mind this one because it kind of gives like an Act 2 type of feel to it, which I approve. It's like going to the next level with what worked before, but keep in mind, this is from 2021.
And here we are with another one of my favorite games of all time. Games being the key word there because today's subject is technically two games in one.
Sonic the Hedgehog might have been one of the best-selling games in the Sega Genesis, but thanks to Sonic the Hedgehog 2's hotly anticipated release and reception, the Blue Hedgehog status was set in stone. By the end of 1993, Sonic was one of the most recognizable video game characters ever, seeing exposure in not only games, but television shows, commercials, even getting a dedicated balloon for the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade.
Yo Sega, if you seeing this, we need one for your boy.
It's too bad in its debut, high winds ended up rupturing the poor fucker's eyeball and sent him crashing.
As the balloon began deflating, it pulled the lamp off the pole, dropping it to the ground where the falling metal injured a man and a little girl.
Yeah, nah, I'm good.
And if that isn't some sort of omen, I don't know what is.
Yeah, that's for damn sure an omen, alright. A Sonic omen. Alright, I'll stop.
Sonic was on top of the world, and Sega would be damned if they didn't push through with that momentum. No more it's too soon for a sequel shit. This was it. This was their megastar. So for the next game, they wanted to blow Sonic 2 out of the water in every regard. Development of Sonic the Hedgehog 3 began as early as January of 1993, and the Sega Technical Institute at this point was split into two teams, one comprised of Japanese developers who would work on Sonic 3, and the other American developers who would work on other games. So much for trying to mingle and learn from both parties in the same team. That philosophy went out the fucking window, didn't it? Yuji Naka and Hirokazu Yasuhara once again took lead roles for Sonic's next adventure, and it would also be the debut of Takashi Iizuka's contributions to Sonic as one of the game's core designers, a name you're probably more familiar with in Sonic's modern era. Yeah, this is where he got his start with the blue dude.
You see that? In the corner? It's your boy.
One of Sonic 3's immediate goals was putting a little more emphasis on the story this time in hopes of creating a much larger adventure. And I can say now, yeah, Sonic 3 completely is a much larger game. It can easily take double, triple the time it would take to complete Sonic 2 going for the emeralds or otherwise. So mission accomplished, yeah? Sure, but you bet your ass there were some snags. Because of a pending McDonald's promotion to tie into the next game, the team was given 1 year to make the game. It did not matter to Sega that Sonic 2 was under an equally tight schedule and shit had to be cut because of that, and they wanted this game to be larger than that. That McDonald's moolah was just too tempting, I take it.
Trust me, it was. To be honest, Sega did make the smart move by doing that, because back then, McDonald's in the 90s was popping. Plus, not only that, every single kid and their mama wanted to go to McDonald's at the same time as well. So, what did they do? They decided, well, you know what? McDonald's is everywhere. So, guess what? We're gonna put Sonic at McDonald's. Why? So this way Sonic can be everywhere.
So the team got right to work, and at first they wanted to make a new game that would take advantage of Sega's virtual processor chip, pretty much the Genesis equivalent to the Super Nintendo's Super FX chip, allowing the console to render real-time polygons. You can see it in action with the 1994 Virtual Racing. And no shit, I mean, if I were to compare, this looks like it ran way better than the original Star Fox and Stunt Race FX.
The answer to that is simple. We do what they don't.
However, this was the only game on the Genesis to incorporate this processor chip. For one, the damn thing was super expensive to produce and thus it was sold at a premium. It was priced at $100 in 1994, which is like, carry the one.
Don't worry, John. I suck at math too.
$180 in today's economy. Yeah, so they probably didn't want their next Sonic game to be literally unsellable to the wide masses. And because the chip itself wouldn't be ready to utilize until late in the game's development, the team decided to just stick with what they knew and expand from there. But with only so much time in their hands on top of wanting to produce a game that would top Sonic 2, development was unsurprisingly stressful anyway. In an interview years later, director of STI at the time, Roger Hector, called Sonic 3's production troubling given the scope of the game, Sega continuously peeking over everyone's shoulders to check progress, and troubled communication with the Japanese developers, with Yuji Naka even being described as hard to work with at points. You know, the more I look back into these old games, the more I get the feeling that a young Yuji Naka was kind of an asshole sometimes.
Just like Bruno, Ducey, the 2 Train, and Black Frieza, we don't talk about that.
And keeping their finger on the pulse of pop culture at this time, Michael Jackson was even contracted to produce music for the new Sonic game, as the King of Pop was already a fan of Sonic beforehand. But then shit would go foobar for varying reasons, causing MJ to leave the project and go uncredited. And I don't know if it was because of the initial child abuse allegations or it was because Jackson was unhappy with the sound of his productions. MJ's actual contributions to Sonic 3's score is still, even in 2021, one of the greatest fucking mysteries of Sonic 3's development. And I like to think the last thing that we as a species will learn before the heat death of this planet is whether Michael Jackson actually made any music for this fucking game, and if it's still in there. I mean, the answer is clearly somewhat.
I mean, before Origins came out, they did kind of hit us with that tweet like, oh, well, you know, it is kind of confirmed and all of that. But at the end of the day, we knew he came out with that music.
You know what? Sure, let's get into the music real quick. So you remember that Sonic & Knuckles PC collection I mentioned in the Sonic 2 video? That was how I got back into my Sonic 3 swing. The music was all MIDI compositions though, and they weren't anything amazing.
Don't sleep on MIDI compositions though. Some of them be fire.
Not only that, but the tracks for Carnival Night, Ice Cap, Launch Bass, and Boss Music were also totally different. And at first I thought, oh, maybe it was just because they really couldn't emulate the kind of sound the Genesis could output. That's a great theme.
Honestly, that is a full version of my first theme song.
But then, just a couple of years ago, a prototype of Sonic 3 was dumped on the internet dating back to 1993.
Shoot, they started making the game as soon as your boy was born.
And to my shock, the music tracks for the zones I mentioned were the PC tracks, only with proper Genesis instruments.
Crazy enough that this is the music for Origins. Now, don't get me wrong, they're not bad, they're just different. The MJ one still gets it in my book, honestly.
It blew my mind. Holy fuck, these were the original tracks all along. So what does that mean for the tracks we hear now? Why the change? It had to be because of Michael Jackson's involvement, but are they his actual contributions? Are they tracks from Brad Buxer, one of Jackson's sound collaborators? Were they retooled Jackson compositions from Howard Drosten, who had to make new songs in short time after MJ left because of the abuse allegations? I just don't know why Sega or others are so goddamn tight-lipped about it. Is it just legal reasons? What sort of deal was made? Why has Sonic 3 rarely seen a re-release after Jackson's death? What did he know? How deep does it go?
I don't fucking care who composed what, and there's a lot of names attached to Sonic 3's soundtrack too. Look at this, holy shit, it was a huge project, but damn.
That's because they knew that this game here was gonna put hair on your chest.
For what it's worth though, Sonic 3 does have a superb soundtrack altogether. It's one of my favorites in the franchise. Could be a bit of 90s bias there. That was my childhood.
Don't worry, John, I understand. This game is the GOAT after all.
Sonic 3 heavily exudes the era it was developed with a good dose of pop, funk, rock, and did I mention pop? Goodness, the pop really pops in this pop. Great shit all around. My favorite tracks being, let me think here, Hydro City, both acts, Launch Base, the MJ one, I don't know, Mushroom Hill, very bouncy, all the bonus stage music, Blue Sphere, goodness, the multiplayer tracks.
Oh yeah, I could definitely agree with that list. Nothing but masterpieces.
So Sonic 3 brings back multiplayer like in Sonic 2, but this time the stages are all unique to this mode, and much shorter, so I don't think they have the same zing as in Sonic 2. Despite having some great level aesthetics, I would have loved to see fleshed out in actual levels in single player mode, but that's not what we got here. Still, they went extra hard on the music for these tiny ass stages, and they're all great, seriously. Azure Lake, Balloon Park, Desert Palace, Chrome Gadget, and Endless Mine. Wonderful pieces of music.
Yes, especially Chrome fucking Gadget.
Like Sonic CD Japanese, I enjoy the whole soundtrack. Not as much as Sonic CD Japanese, but Sonic 3 is my favorite among the Genesis games.
Hey, listen, unpopular opinion here, but I do enjoy the US version of Sonic CD's music a little bit more than the Japanese version, not gonna lie. And that's because they keep blessing the soundtrack with that 90s guitar. But Sonic 3 and Knuckles is still my favorite out of the entire classic era.
And just to quickly highlight this, but I always admired how Sonic music on the Genesis, the whole trilogy really, they were Genesis games that didn't sound like Genesis games. When I think of Genesis music, I always think of that twang. You know what I'm talking about, that. Damn. Hey, I'm not saying it's immediately bad if it has twang. I really enjoy the Genesis Mortal Kombat music, and it's almost nothing but.
No, John, wait!
But the folks behind the scenes with Sonic had that extra special magic that didn't immediately date the sound, if you get me. But I know for some, that's exactly why they enjoy the Genesis sound font. Anyway, the developers were realizing that Sonic 3 was becoming too big for its britches. With what they had in mind, what they wanted to achieve, there was simply no way they were going to make that early 1994 deadline to coincide with that godforsaken Happy Meal. But instead of just cutting stuff out like they did with Sonic 2, this time they decided they were going to split the game in two, and so we got Sonic the Hedgehog 3 in February of 1994,
February 2nd of 94 to be exact,
and Sonic and Knuckles in October of 1994, this game acting not so much as a dedicated sequel, but as a continuation of the earlier release, like a new episode of a television show. To make up for splitting the game, Sonic & Knuckles was a special cartridge that allowed players to connect their Sonic 3 and play the game as originally designed. One gargantuan adventure that consisted of over 14 zones, 3 playable characters, multiplayer, and a shit ton of replayability. When talking about Sonic the Hedgehog 3 nowadays, I think it's safe to assume most folks are talking about the combination of Sonic 3 and Sonic & Knuckles, because like I said, that was how the game was originally meant to be. It was only because of McDonald's that the games were split up. That's a sentence I definitely said out loud. Is there merit in playing the games individually, the way kids did in 1994 between releases? Yes and no. Both games individually are about as long as Sonic the Hedgehog 2, but they don't have as many zones. The stages are longer, but both games have a sort of anticlimactic aura around them. Say if you jumped into Sonic 3 standalone and only played that, some things just ring a little thin. Knuckles is a dude who pops in from time to time but gets no proper closure. After launch base, he falls down.
Bye.
That's that. You don't even get to play as the dude. We stopped the Death Egg from relaunching, but the game just sort of ends right after. Great credit music though.
Absolutely.
You enter the level select code in the title screen after 3,000 attempts, and you see levels inaccessible. Mushroom Valley, Flying Battery, was there something I missed? No, they're just not in the game. And with Sonic and Knuckles, we can actually play as Knuckles here, that's cool, but Tails is nowhere to be seen. Which is very odd seeing as this is supposed to be right after Sonic 3. Where the hell did he go? The difficulty curve is also a little screwy. I don't find either Sonic 3 or Sonic & Knuckles to be particularly hard, but in Sonic & Knuckles' case, the third stage is Sandopolis, and that's like, what the fuck?
Man, fuck Sandopolis Zone, but specifically Act 2.
Sonic 3 lets you save your game and continue on another day. Sonic & Knuckles does not. Both games have Blue Sphere for special stages, but only Sonic 3 has the Gumball bonus stage, while Sonic & Knuckles has both the Slot Machine and Glowing Sphere game. And what's the deal with these huge emeralds in Hidden Palace Zone? Are they props, or are they something more? Sonic 3 and Sonic & Knuckles are two pieces of a set. They don't quite have the same punch as individual titles, especially compared to Sonic 2. No, it's very clear they are meant to be one game, so I will always look and judge them as a combined game. And I know that's exactly why some people prefer Sonic 2 overall, because yeah, Sonic 3 and Knuckles is a big fucking game. For some, it's too big. We're talking a 2-hour plus 2D Sonic game, and I know that doesn't sound like much, but for the high-speed antics a Sonic game usually comes with, that burns you out after a while, and the levels themselves are much larger across the board. There's rarely a stage that takes less than 3 minutes, and that's when you're going fast, and clipping through the floor and shit. I get it. I totally understand why people prefer Sonic 2. The pacing is just out of this world. But personally, I'm not bothered by the length of Sonic 3 and Knuckles, nor the size of the levels except Sandopolis Act 2, and that's why I slightly prefer it over 2. I enjoy the level themes and presentation of Sonic 3 a lot more, how levels progress the story with action pieces that sort of hijack game time for the sake of progressing the narrative, but they all fall in line with Sonic's kinetic appeal. And I love how in this game, one act of a zone leads directly into another, really making these stages feel larger than life, and how every zone logically transitions into the next, emphasizing the adventure element. There is more to explore, more speed to generate, more set pieces that give every stage a unique feel. They do dip their hands too many times into the chase gimmick, I'll give you that. The Angel Island battleship, the wall in Hydro City, the ceiling in Marble Garden, Flying Battery has the same shit. The sand in Sandopolis. They keep you on your toes like in Sonic 2, but it does feel a little lazy at times.
Nah, ain't no sleep out here on Angel Island. Work don't stop. Grind don't stop.
And if there's one thing Sonic 3 loves doing is testing out your subwoofer, because shit gets loud all the time in this game. Constant screen vibrations with some loud ass. That's all over the place in Sonic 3, and with headphones on, my ears start to bleed a bit.
Here at Sega, it's serious business when it comes to our sound effects. But I will say this much, you do have a point. Because Lord have mercy, if your TV is on full blast, then your ass is entirely grass. That airship that came out here sounds like a DE-38C from Long Island Railroad.
But for the sake of this video, I played this game a lot. I played Sonic 3 alone, I played Sonic and Knuckles, and I did 3 complete playthroughs of Sonic 3 and Knuckles with all 3 characters, as well as a Sonic 3 Angel Island Remastered playthrough. I'm out of the Steam version because holy fuck, this is no doubt the best version of Sonic 3 and Knuckles with widescreen support and so much customizable options at your beck and call to make your ideal Sonic 3 playthrough.
That shit looks sexy as hell.
And then I did a prototype playthrough for shits and giggles, and then finally a Knuckles and Sonic 2 playthrough. Can you tell I really like this game? Was I a little sick of it afterwards? Sure, but I'd do it again. And at some point, I will do it again.
Well, I got one thing to say to that. Do it again.
Come on, man. It was cool combining the games together. A novel, if a bit outdated concept that I feel is lost in today's age of digital libraries and emulation. When I was a kid and I first got to do this, it was like a magic trick.
That was DLC in the 90s.
It was the Sonic 3 title screen, but it was playing the Sonic and Knuckles music. It's a shame that some of the music tracks are lost when you combine the games. The mini-boss music in Sonic 3 alone is completely cut.
Dishonor.
And we also don't get the first Knuckles theme either.
Disrespect.
And when you're playing as Sonic, you don't fight the big arm boss at the end of Launch Base.
Disservice.
It's one of Robotnik's greatest contraptions because this motherfucker can do the impossible and actually harm Super Sonic. Wait, he didn't... Okay, I could have sworn Big Arm could harm Super Sonic, but that's not what... He ruined my joke.
Damn, son. Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. Why do you do that?
The game came out at the perfect age for me. I was 6 to 7 years old in 1994, and a new Sonic game with the lock-on technology, it was like a toy within a toy. You know, fuck the McDonald's stuff. I was getting my jollies just by connecting the cartridges. Not to mention, we got one of the best promotional images for Sonic ever created. You can't tell me this isn't one of the greatest promos in all of Sonic. This shit slaps. Simplicity sells, and this sure as shit sold me.
That's for damn sure. And to be honest, it's the greatest of all time. All you need is our names and that's it.
But dedicated fans could also lock on their copy of Sonic 2 to play the adventure with Knuckles. You could use his glide to fly over whatever you could, or ambush an enemy giving you shit. Nailed it.
Damn, that was sexy. Your boy got the moves out here.
His wall climb could be used to ignore certain obstacles, but his initial jump was shorter than Sonic's, and that made some levels a little awkward to complete, I think.
Nah, that was me blessing Sonic 2 with my presence.
Aquatic Ruin isn't nearly as fun with Knuckles compared to the other two. He just can't jump over these damn pillars.
Oh, please, John. That shit is child's play. All you have to do is just run back and off-screen the bitch. Once you do that, you gotta be quick. Do your best to spin jump over the pillar before it has time to rise up out the ground. And if you can't do that, then well, you fucked up. I don't know what to tell you.
His arms are also flesh-colored in the special stages. That's a little gross. But he gets to keep his rings after crossing a checkpoint, though, even after death, so that should make getting the emerald a little easier, I'd imagine.
Trust me, from Oil Ocean to Wing Fortress Zone, you damn sure gonna need all 7 Chaos Emeralds. And you damn right I'm making sure I take all my rings after a special stage. Oil Ocean has shooters on every block with them asshole seahorses. Metropolis has every op in the block.
I don't often play as Knuckles in Sonic 2. He's not much different than Sonic, but his unique skills don't add much to the standard Sonic 2 experience, so you're not missing anything.
Fuck you mean not missing anything? Hell, I gave this game an encore. Then you talking hot basura about me and didn't even give me a proper introduction.
Anyway, I think Knuckles realized I didn't properly introduce him in this video yet. I am kind of reading the last page first here, aren't I?
Shit.
But yeah, Sonic and Tails were back in action, but Sonic 3 brought along Knuckles the Echidna as Sonic's new rival turned eventual friend.
Facts.
And he looks about as much of an Echidna as Sonic does a Hedgehog. Sonic Team taking some major artistic license there.
I know his 99-cent nostalgia critic looking ass ain't talking about me right now.
The plot of Sonic 3 sort of picks up immediately where Sonic 2 left off. Robotnik's Death Egg was put out of commission, but the wreckage is landed in the nearby Angel Island, home of Knuckles and the Master Emerald which he protects.
Facts.
Robotnik has sights on the Master Emerald in hopes of repairing the Death Egg and conquering the world, so he tricks Knuckles into thinking Sonic is after his lost piece, pitting the two against each other in very brief encounters.
Hey, you're gonna have to look at this shit through my perspective, alright? Listen, at the end of the day, your boy was chilling on the island. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, Death Egg. That shit crash lands out here, and guess what? I meet Eggman. Eggman tells me his side of the story of what happened between him and Sonic, and tells me that Sonic is on his way after the Master Emerald. And as soon as your boy is hearing anything that concerns the Master Emerald, he's putting up his dukes. And mind you, I don't know these assholes. They just showed up on my doorstep. That and a two-tailed fox. So we made the plan, I hit underground, and pop went the weasel. Or Hedgehog.
Knuckles is more like an internet shit poster than dedicated rival. He even looks like a little gremlin in the European box art.
Oh my gosh, man. Damn, son. Oh, man.
Meanwhile, you look like a limited edition Mr. Potato Head. Can't come out here and diss me. Don't you know the fuck I am?
I'm the Juggernaut.
You know, the one that says Sonic 3, but Sonic's holding up 4 fingers?
Moron.
Knuckles mainly shows up to cause minor inconveniences here and there. He makes one hell of an entrance, though. You got Sonic and Tails entering Angel Island on the hunt for Robotnik, and I guess Sonic had D&D that night with friends because he starts off going Super Sonic, looking to wrap things up fast, but then Knuckles uppercuts the fuck out of him, knocking the emeralds out of Super Sonic's possession.
This is the very moment where I told this boy right to his face, welcome to Angel Island, bitch.
Damn, Knuckles got hands.
E for everyone, John.
After that, Knuckles isn't nearly as cool. Just a dude that gives you a love tap before fucking off or going down pathetically easy. It's weird.
You don't find that suspicious? You don't find that suspicious? You don't find that suspicious?
A much grander adventure is in store for the Hedgehog and Fox, and we got some new skills to aid us in our journey. Control is as fluid as before, and the spin dash is back and just as fun to utilize here as it was in Sonic 2. No super peel out though, I'm guessing STI didn't care for the Sega CD either. Tails has gotten a couple of upgrades, by that I mean he can actually fly on command now, and he can also swim in water. Doesn't last forever obviously, but he can easily reach higher terrain with little to no effort, making his journey overall easier than Sonic, until you get to the Robotnik fight in Marble Garden, which is now the hardest fight in the game. As Sonic, all you gotta do is jump off Tails and hit the bastard, or if you're Super Sonic, you just fucking... Tails has to meticulously aim his lethal propellers at the dude, and with that jank hitbox, it's like a fucking game of Operation.
In this game, Tails players are no exception to the rule as well. It is time to put your big boy pants on. Let's go. It is what it is.
Sonic though, one word for you, or maybe it's two. Insta-shield. I know to some it's not that big of a deal, but I fucking love this technique, so kiss my ass. You press the jump button in midair, and for a few frames Sonic does this little slashy thingy, extending his hitbox and giving him invincibility. You can't spam it, but nothing in the game is more satisfying than utilizing it correctly and scoring extra hits, or landing a super precise attack. Against things like Orbonauts, previously uncontested enemies in previous games, you are now the one in control, and it feels so good. This was also the game to introduce elemental shields. The basic shield is a thing of the past. Now we got 3 varieties that each come with something a little extra on top of basic protection from attacks and certain elements. Though only Sonic can utilize their special maneuvers, I always viewed that as the game equalizing the playing field for Sonic. I mean, Tails can straight up fly and Knuckles can climb walls and glide. Sonic has the Insta Shield, yeah, but still looking a little flimsy by comparison, so they gave him these shield techniques.
Cause he a little bitch.
A mid-air dash with the fire shield and protection from fire. A bounce attack and protection from drowning with the bubble shield. The latter ability becoming less and less significant after the second stage of the game, seeing as there's barely any water hazards outside of that. Finally, a double jump, protection from electricity, and the ability to draw in rings with the electric shield. My favorite of the bunch. It's always a treat to grab one of these and try and complete stages with some fun maneuvers. And small thing, but I love the sound the bubble shield makes when you grab it. Love that shit. One more time.
Hey, look, even though I can't use the ability of a shield, still, the electric shield is my favorite one out of the bunch. Because once you got that, everybody knows what that means. It's crunch time.
Level progression is standard, but as I stressed earlier, stages are larger than anything in Sonic 2, and Angel Island, despite being an island that looks like it's mostly jungle, still has a bunch of varied locations that challenge Sonic and company in their own ways, with a smorgasbord of bonuses to go around and make you feel good. I'm talking all those golden rings and item boxes filled with power-ups and extra lives. Ring posts act as checkpoints again, but crossing them with a certain number of rings unlocks a bonus stage where you can really rack up the points and extra lives, or maybe get yourself an emergency shield. Most of the time I'm not bothering because I think lives are kind of meaningless in a game where you can save your progress, but I do love getting an extra power up, when it's the one I want in the gumball stage anyway. No, Tails, I really wanted that electric shield, you fucking idiot.
That's the reason why I work alone, John.
And legit, I have a lot of fun with the glowing sphere stage. It's so fun trying to reach the top, and the music is choice.
Oh, you goddamn right.
None of these are as fun as the special stages in Sonic 3 though. In this game, you find them via these large rings hidden in different parts of the level, and all you gotta do is find them. You don't need a certain amount of rings to enter them, unlike the checkpoints in Sonic 2. That's why I always preferred the rings compared to the checkpoints, because, you know, it was one thing to find them, but you couldn't get hurt along the way. A little too much pressure on me, part of the reason why I don't bother with the special stages in Sonic 2.
But we all know who can bypass all of that shit. It's your boy.
Not the case here though, I love Blue Sphere. You're moving through this pseudo three-dimensional space getting blue balls until the Chaos Emerald is yours. The longer you stay inside, the faster the stage gets, which as a kid I hated. Nothing made me jump more than accidentally hitting a bumper and heading straight into a red sphere ending the stage. But maybe it's because my brain is wired differently as an adult, but I actually like when it speeds up now. It's exhilarating, edge of my seat fun trying to grab all the blue spheres and avoiding the red ones. And word of advice, don't be like me as a kid. Just because you're Knuckles, that doesn't mean you gotta grab the red balls now. You still gotta get the blue ones.
What? I play as the red character. I think I gotta get the red balls. A simple color correlation. Fuck off, leave me alone.
Hey, if you end up really liking Blue Sphere, plug in a Sonic 1 cartridge into Sonic and Knuckles, and while it may seem incompatible, I mean regarding Sonic 1 it was for the longest time, now this is actually the secret Blue Sphere game. 134,217,728 levels of Blue Sphere madness. Some have to be repeats, right? It isn't even possible to complete. I bet the dude who first discovered this shit back in 1994 is not even halfway done. Who the hell has time for that shit? I'll just stick with normal Blue Sphere. I love finding the giant rings and playing Blue Sphere so much that I usually have all the Chaos Emeralds by the second act of Hydro City, the second stage of the game.
I get exactly what you're saying, and plus, I do the exact same thing. But believe me, just going through the Sonic 3 and Knuckles special stages alone in itself, it is a bit of a pain in the ass, because once you get to the second set, which would be the Super Emerald stages, you're pretty much like tuckered out from going through all the Chaos Emerald special stages. At that point, you might as well just save whatever Chaos Emeralds you have, complete the game, and then just go back to the start of the game and just get the Super Emeralds that way. This way you can finish off the game. Because holy shit, them special stages can be a pain in the ass. Now, this is not taking away anything from Blue Sphere, don't get me wrong, because there's some things in Sonic 2 that are a bit of a pain in the ass, such as the half pipe. And I get where Johnny's coming from on that end. I get where you're coming from, John, believe me. Especially that last special stage with the rings are scattered all over the place in Sonic 2. I get that. But believe me, there's a little bit more work that needs to be done in terms of Sonic 3, in terms of special stages. You got to put in more work for that.
I try not to spam Super Sonic too much because, look, I love the dude, I do, but the goddamn invincibility theme is all that plays when you transform, and it loops after like 3 seconds. That's just the worst.
Hey, listen, I'd rather the Sonic and Knuckles theme for Super transformations as opposed to Sonic 3, because with Sonic 3, it just don't sound right.
But getting all the emeralds unlocks Doomsday Zone, the true final level of the game, where it's Super Sonic against Robotnik's last stand, which you defeat just by ramming your fucking face into it a couple of times. The first time a Sonic game has ever locked the true ending through the magical emeralds that are not really emeralds. They're not emeralds. That always bothered me. Why are they called Chaos Emeralds? They're not all green or emerald cut. They're more like Chaos Diamonds or Cubic Zirconias if you want to be cheap.
No, they're not. MatPat actually cleared that up a long time ago. They're actually Chaos Barrels.
Look, the Super Emeralds? No, these are diamonds. All right, the Super Emeralds. The only time in the franchise these are a thing. This was mainly to give players continued incentive to explore levels in the Sonic and Knuckles portion of the game. If you already went and got the Chaos Emeralds earlier, collecting all of these gave you Hyper Mode, Supersonic with a broken as all fuck air dash that also flashed the screen white for a second, so you know, ow.
Well, of course they would have his light bright ass flash across the screen.
And you had this seizure-inducing aura on you at all times. I've wondered for the longest time why Hypersonic hasn't been brought back since this game, but then I look back and I see, man, this shit hurts my eyes looking at it. Not even Hyper Knuckles gets this crazy, but Tails gets to become Super Tails. Yeah, Super Tails, not Hyper Tails. For some reason, the kid doesn't get a super form with the Chaos Emeralds. He needs all those plus the Super Emeralds to get a transformation, but then you actually unlock it and see that Tails got the best deal. Increased speed, increased flight, and vulnerability, and yeah, his
Flicky Army of Death.
Yeah, I had to bring that one back because that's what it is. These little demons will attack anything on screen.
No shit. I would know. Exhibit A right the fuck here.
Nothing stands a chance. Not Robotnik, not his minions, not even this giant metal hand. What? But I'm perfectly fine with just playing the game without super forms. Makes Robotnik and all that more interesting. And the dude ain't fucking around this time. You see it as early as the first stage, because one of his first actions is burning down the jungles of Angel Island. Look at the backgrounds here. Holy shit, we're talking Scorched Earth or Scorched Mobius. I don't fucking know.
Mobius.
He's just more aggressive altogether, rocking new contraptions you just can't bounce on 8 times without putting in some effort. Though some are boring as fuck. I know it's more of a cutscene boss, but the laser and flying battery, it's just the Wing Fortress laser with no platforms and no means of hurting it. So you just slightly move out of the way for what seems like 3 hours. That's dull as hell. God, the Lava Reef boss though. It's just you making sure his bombs hit himself like 12 times, probably the worst boss in the game, I think. But it's not just Robotnik, there's also his robotic goons. There's mini bosses in Act 1 of every zone now. Stuff like this barbecue grill, this bowling ball, this thing swinging his arms in the air like he just don't care. And you know what? I'm the biggest stooge in the world. I didn't realize this was likely a Golden Axe reference in the Mushroom Hill mini boss. I need to play more Sega games.
You fucking up, John.
Our tougher than leather Echidna makes his playable debut in this as well, and actually playing as Knuckles leaves a better impression of the dude than his shit-eating story counterpart. Oh, you hit a button and I go up. What a bastard.
The best one you know.
His journey is set after the events of Sonic, so this is weird. Remnants of Robotnik's inventions gain sentience and acts as a second Robotnik that specifically gives Knuckles shit. This poor dude just dealt with Robotnik shenanigans, and now you got this metal asshole showing up and doing almost the exact same shit.
Damn right, and now I got you talking super hot basura about me in this video. It's hard out here for an Echidna, man.
But as an inhabitant of Angel Island, Knuckles knows all the ins and outs of almost every stage, something I really like how his playthrough emphasizes. He has access to special routes only he can take because of his rock-hard fist nipples.
You egg pawn in the face ass bitch, how dare you?
And this can lead to a completely different experience and level progression that you couldn't get with Sonic or Tails. Some stages can be significantly harder or significantly easier. Seriously, Carnival Night Act 2 doesn't even have a boss fight. Knuckles is that smooth.
Alright.
Some stages can also be significantly shorter, but overall Knuckles is a more difficult playthrough, if for anything the boss fights. The Egg Robo is a little smarter than Robotnik regarding strategy. You gotta put an extra effort into scoring these kills. Sadly, his adventure gets a little less unique by the time you get into the Sonic and Knuckles section. There's still a few pathways only Knuckles can take, but nothing sticks out as much as the Sonic 3 portion. It's mostly the same game, only with no journey into the Death Egg and no Doomsday Zone. His journey ends in Sky Sanctuary against the returning Mecha Sonic, a robot you fight in Sonic Story a couple of times. He uses some of Robotnik's old machines and it's like, dude, it didn't work then, it's not gonna work now. But when you defeat him one-on-one, you notice, he didn't blow to pieces. That's where the Knuckles encounter comes in. I love details like that. He makes short work of that Egg Robo though, so much for that jerk. But then he powers up using the Master Emerald and turns into a super aggressive asshole.
Just like another Hedgehog that we know.
I love this battle, short length notwithstanding. And okay, I'm guessing Sky Sanctuary is completely separated from Angel Island and not part of it, because we're clearly not in Angel Island anymore. I'm watching it rock back and forth in the background there. Great visual though, despite being a little confusing.
So Sky Sanctuary is actually a part of the island's airspace. Yes, though it's not a part of Angel Island, still, it is above us.
The ending isn't as heartwarming as Sonic 2, but it still makes me feel good. Watching Angel Island once again take to the sky, Sonic and Tails heading off in the tornado with a grateful Knuckles smiling from afar. May this never happen again.
You shut your ass up.
I love this game. In the end, I don't really care if you think Sonic 2 is better or if Sonic 3 is better. They're both fucking fantastic adventures that are everything I want and expect out of a 2D Sonic game. I don't care if that's a cop-out answer. If you enjoy the game, just fucking play the damn game. Sonic 3 and Knuckles is one of my favorite platformers of all time, one of my favorite games of all time. It offers so much in fun and replayability, kind of important cornerstones that dictate a game's value to me. It's one of the best looking games in the Genesis, the 16-bit era in general, really. I love Sonic's new sprites, the vibrant designs of every zone, the special stages, the sound design is extra crunchy outside of all the damn rumbling, and the soundtrack is simply spectacular. It is a little exhausting to finish compared to Sonic 1, 2, and even CD, but hey, that's exactly why the save system is there. You don't need to finish this in one go. Take your time and blast off with Sonic speed at your leisure.
Or Knuckles speed at your leisure. Because it's my game as well. Everybody's sitting there thinking it's just a Sonic game. No, it's a Knuckles game as well. Don't get it twisted. Knuckles Chaotix ain't the only game I got. When people talk about Sonic 3, they don't talk about Sonic 3 alone. They talk about Sonic 3 and Knuckles. That's why this game is forever the GOAT.
It's just one of those games I can never tire of, and I was more than happy to play it probably more times than necessary for the sake of this video. We all have those games, and Sonic 3 and Knuckles is one of those for me. One of Sonic's best, hands down, and the standard I hold all 2D games up to. That and Sonic 2, because that game is incredible too.
That's an entire fact, John.
I know some of you were expecting a Sonic Mania-esque freakout going into my love for this game. And look, I do love this game. But I've also been playing it since 1994.
Same.
I've had close to 27 years to celebrate my love for this game. And every time I play it, it's the same childlike grin across my face. Every time I enter the special stages, every time I reach the end with Supersonic, every time I see that title screen, every time I slide down Hydro City and... What? This was the game I would play well into the ass crack of dawn during my summers. Oh god, especially with those emulator CDs I mentioned in the Sonic 1 video. Which, holy shit, I think I might finally know the reason why the sound quality of these were so ass. I think the emulation in these was the same as that Sega Smash Pack on the Dreamcast. Did you ever play this? Listen to the Sonic 1 footage.
Look at that. This is prime Game Gear quality here.
That's exactly how bad it sounds on these things. Damn, Dreamcast can't emulate for shit, I guess. So this is one of those times where I don't know how to properly end the video. We are almost done with this Sonic revisit though. We got a couple more things left to do before we head into Metroid for a bit to celebrate that anniversary. But next time we're going to go back to Sonic the Hedgehog 4, episode 1 and 2. I know there's technically already a Johnny Versus of episode 2, but I feel it'll just work for the video altogether if I look at both episodes at once.
There should have been an episode 3, because you already know your boy would have been a part of that.
Oh, and make sure you catch the beginning of Super Mario Odyssey starting tomorrow, July 31st. It's going until August 8th, and we're raising money for the Diabetes Research Institute. You can get all the information you need by visiting the Charity Room's official YouTube page. If we break our goal of $15,000, I'm doing a 100% playthrough of Super Mario Sunshine. Drunk.
Mario Sunshine was great, but I want you to do Knuckles Chaotix drunk.
Isn't Charity great, you dickhead? Thank you all for watching. Stay safe, wash your hands, wear a mask. If you decide to go outside, get vaccinated if possible. Have yourselves a fantastic night, and take care. And it's Hydro City.
Yeah. Yep, he's right. It is Hydro City. The hell is a hydrosity?
Excellent work as always, John. And you and I have some sort of a similar history with this game too. I got the name Knuckles because my dad owned Sonic 3 and Knuckles on the Genesis. This was back when your boy was freshly born on Staten Island. Thanks, Dad. Hopefully through this video you guys can see the reason why I started doing YouTube in the first place, and why I've been a fan of Johnny's for such a long time. Through him I can see where I need to sharpen my spikes at to make better content. If you're new to the channel, then feel free to go see my other channel, the Super Subway Brothers, where I review all things New York City transit. I also post up mashups of music and other crazy ass content that you might want to see. You ever wanted to hear me with a Jamaican accent? Go check out the Flatbush Depot review, home to some of the most craziest bus routes in Brooklyn. And of course, one of those said crazy ass routes is the infamous B41. With that said, this is Knuckles the Echidna. You guys have a damn good one.